USA and around the world. The deep state is being hunted down by freelancers and operatives after last night's massive failure. Everyone received vouchers and IOUs that came due early today. Bank for International Settlements and the Treasury are now trying to launder money for the Boko Haram, a Western African terrorist group, as desperation sets in. Okay. Now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hello, Kim.
Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. How are things going today?
And happy day after the new moon day.
Oh, yeah. I never pay attention to that stuff, but yeah, for what you're doing, absolutely. That's a big deal.
So I can tell you a little bit more about what's been happening behind the scenes with the deep state.
Okay.
Because it was all supposed to come to fruition this morning. And I know there were some things you asked me about, and I said, well, I prefer not to say. Mm-hmm. So I didn't. But now I can start talking about it a little bit more, at least the part that's already underway.
Okay.
And the events of the last 24 hours. So, as you know, the deep state was desperately hunting for some kind of an Omega backup system that they thought was going to go into effect last night. Of course, always during a new moon, full moon, during the flux new moon, I guess. Maybe they thought they had it. But alas, nothing happened by yesterday afternoon, and this left them kind of in a panic, and more so because there was a second part that had been going on for a couple of weeks now, and I thought I'd share it with you now, because then they know now that I know, which is important. Okay, if you've been kind of around for a while, you've probably seen a lot of documentation online about the Committee of 300.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these documents show like a long list. They're about 100 pages long or so. They show a long list of banks worldwide that they allegedly control with large numbers beside them. Now, these documents are kind of well known. They've been spread all over the internet. So if not, then I will go ahead and I'll post it in community chat so you can take a look at it, just so you know what I'm talking about. And in part, the Committee of 300 allegedly claims, based on these documents, that they control the holding companies of all of these banking institutions. Mm-hmm. Now, to some degree, holding companies also had an operating system of their own. So I spent several hours the other day kind of preparing for what I saw coming. Because all operating systems were kind of alpha omega dual operating systems, what we've been doing is we've been converting these to alpha harmonic genesis operating systems, therefore eliminating any view from omega. So these accounts, although they didn't hold any real money in them because they had no allocation numbers, you could still see the holding companies within the financial system at the higher levels. Mm-hmm. And by higher levels, I'm meaning family levels and above government levels, those kinds of places. So someone which claimed to be, and I still don't know quite who this person is in their name, who claimed to be a descendant of the Committee of 300 heir of something or other, decides that he's going to take all of these accounts, show them to countries, and explain to them that on the 7th, these accounts would then go live and become active. So they began issuing a tremendous amount of vouchers to various people, IOUs, if you will. And by people, I don't mean like you and I mean like the royal family of Saudi Arabia, some terrorist organizations throughout the Middle East. They issued them to militaries. They issued them in a lot of different places. And so I've kind of been watching this as the new currency of the deep state. Always going to be good at a day ending in Y in the future. And that night was last night. They also have tried doing some business, I should say again, with a group called the Boko Haram in Africa. So they pretty much operate mostly in Western Africa. They have a lot of cash, actual physical cash, and a lot of it is super notes. And they've been unable to launder that money into the system since the shutdown a few years back by yours truly of a United Nations black site in Kenya. So they were happily laundering their money for decades now through this United Nations facility in Kenya until it was shut down, probably about 2 or 3 years ago now. And so the Treasury Department and the Bank for International Settlements thought that they would help them out and figured they could use allocation numbers from all of their stacks of cash to legitimize some of this money that is on off-ledger accounts in these holding company accounts. Well, so we watched them try to set it up. They also tried to use these holding company accounts for their new digital currency system, which they tried again to relaunch yesterday. There was a large meeting going on at the Bank for International Settlements yesterday with the global headquarters folks and some military people worldwide trying to get the system up and running based on these accounts that are just basically numbers on a computer screen. So that failed miserably. And by late afternoon yesterday, everybody kind of started to panic. Now, they worked all night long. God bless their souls. They worked so hard last night to try to make all of these scams work for them. They brought people in from the U.S. Treasury, to go to different locations around the world. They really thought they had it. But we were prepared for this untenuous situation because we had been watching it for a while. And the one thing you always want to use in warfare is the element of surprise. You never show your hand. You never tell them what you're going to do. We might load things behind the scenes, programs and those types of things set to go off at a certain time or day based on what we expect to happen. Now, based on the fact that this did not work out, we figured by very early morning Eastern Standard Time today, everybody would be in a full-on panic by then. Now, due to the fact global headquarters are predominantly based in the United States, we figured since they worked all night, that we would probably set this to go off sometime around 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time this morning, because then they'll probably be getting up, after a long night of zero accomplishment. So we set off the following things to go off at this specific time. So every single one of those banks listed on the documents, and there are hundreds listed on there, we set it off to take over all of the holding companies' operating systems starting at 7 a.m. this morning. Not only that, we also made sure at the same time when we took them over, and they're now listed as under the Office of the Guardian, we zeroed out every single one of the accounts.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. At the same time, we also shut down the base platform for militaries worldwide, intelligence worldwide, NATO, the base back-end platform for internet security. Now, we are now running on our VTN, or Virtual Trusted Network, which is a little bit more secure than a VPN, if you're familiar with the term. We also shut down all treasury systems, everything everybody has on the front end from the base platform. So we have not been slacking in any way, but we set all these events to go off one after the other. So basically, anything that they have as far as deep state is concerned, and unfortunately governments are concerned, are now pretty much shut down. They have no eyes and ears. Then we proceeded to finish off the financial system with backbones of tax authorities and other types of things. So everybody's having database problems this morning because, we've kind of come to the conclusion that governments aren't really doing anything. They're just kind of a tool in the toolbox for the deep state. They're not helping the people any. This isn't really working out. We've given them hundreds of chances to come forward and have a conversation with us. Nobody wants to. And then there's always this line of buying time to the next new moon, full moon, you name it. The next location I hear they're all going to try this in is on the full moon 2 weeks from yesterday. And they'll be going to Malaysia this time. So I know. God bless them, right?
Yeah.
And none of this is going to work. So the lies had to end. So by zeroing out the holding companies, that doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. This is all these genetic shareholders, alleged bank assets that they never had, leverage against your deeds. For example, if you get a mortgage on your house, they get 25 times, 100 times. This is the source of all the high yield trade programs that they do with governments. And, you see it kind of in the broker world, where you can get 800 times in like so many days. And you've probably seen medium-term notes, coming around from the World Bank or those types of things. These are the programs that I'm talking about that used to run on these types of accounts. Also a lot of wars were funded from them, off-market trading, credit lines, these types of things. But as of this morning, everything pretty much erupted into a giant zero. Zero communication lines, zero access, zero ownership over the financial system anymore, no ability to hide it anymore. And we have a few more steps yet to go, but we do not want to tell them about it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So this is a strategy to whereby they got caught completely off guard. Not only that, those vouchers weren't good. So they're getting it from me on every single level today, but they're also getting it not only from me, they're also getting a lot of, let's just say, problems and issues by people calling saying, hey, these accounts are zeroed out. Where's my voucher? Where's my money? Everything was supposed to be due today, and of course that didn't work out. In addition to that, our Raymond Reddington crew that was hired by the cartels you asked me about the other day, we'll just call them the Raymond Reddingtons, and that's from the show Blacklist in case you don't watch it. He's a fixer of freelancers. All their contracts went into effect, full force last night, and everybody went into a full-on panic.
What does that mean, Kim? Their contracts went into effect. What does that mean?
That means that they spent a lot of time hiring people and formulating a list, for lack of a better term, the blacklist.
The blacklist.
People that are lied, cheated, stole from them. People that keep playing the tomorrow game. Black nobility families. People within the governments, within militaries. There are some high-profile names on that list. And I'll leave it at that. And they started hunting everybody down last night when they found out that their backup system kicking in did not work out. Yeah. Kind of started trickling in around 5 o'clock Eastern, and then it just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. And then, of course, the exact time of the full moon was at 11 o'clock-ish, I think maybe 11 something last night, Eastern time. So by then, it was a full-on assault. Nobody was taking anybody's calls anymore. Nobody's listening to the next day ending in Y, and they launched it. So you have people running for the hills in a major way. They don't even know who they're under attack by. So based on us seeing that, we thought it was a great time to start that process this morning. So there's no going back from here. Honestly, at this point, we are no way interested in talking to any of those people. This was it. We have several more steps to conclude over the next 24 to 48 hours as far as deep state takedowns now that we have the base platforms. It may or may not involve some media things. It may, I don't want to justify their existence, and I don't want to cause panic amongst regular humans that don't know what we're talking about. So we'll see what happens, but we have several more things that are definitely going to happen to them in the next couple of days. So we're hitting them high, we're hitting them low. We're watching the Raymond Reddington crew, seeing when they launched off. Then we started to launch off. We're not actually working together. I don't know those people. Maybe one day I will, but I don't at this moment. But it's just a coordinated effort. So you might as well ride on the back of what everybody else is doing and prepare for something that you can do on your side of it, to help the process along. So since this just started, literally the last 3-4 hours, we've just been hitting system after system after system after system, there with more yet to go today and tomorrow. I don't know the end result of it. I'm not expecting to negotiate with these people at this point. I'm not interested in any more lies, cheating, stealing, especially from all of you. They obviously were trying to tank a bank's financial system with whatever it was that they were doing. A matter of fact, a call came in, not last night, it was actually the night before, from someone within the military who's kind of known to be not a bad person, but a person that's not willing to move in any direction, but he kind of makes comments here and there to us, and I'll just leave that to who that is. He's not on the list. And we had some chats about, there's going to be a financial system crash, and what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, even if I was going to do something about it, I'm certainly not going to tell you, especially not on your phone. So there has been, everyone is on high alert as far as shutting down systems. When you shut down financial systems, we didn't shut down the financial system, so it functions for you. You can go to an ATM machine, you can walk into your bank, the bank's going to operate just fine. What we shut down was the back end platform for it. And that's where they usually try to commit the most amount of fraud. It's on a larger scale. The next thing, but we did actually shut down military's intelligence and NATO, and this is a worldwide outage situation everybody's facing today.
So is this devastating? How would you rank this? If, on their side, how devastating is this for them is what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, the next thing that happens, let me kind of explain to you what happens after that, which we were also prepared for. The next thing that happens is what's called the doomsday protocol or doomsday system, which means that if there was a fictitious solar flare and it happened to be, take out electronics, that kind of thing, everything flips over to the doomsday system. And that's not only for the U.S., that's for the world. Which happens to be run by the U.S. Underneath the White House and in Norfolk. So when I say flip over, it's basically a mirror. It mirrors the systems. It mirrors financial systems. It mirrors military and intelligence systems. so that they can be up and running not only in the doomsday bunkers, but also in like the doomsday plane. You've heard about the doomsday plane. So once that kicked in, it took just a few minutes to take it out. So then that went down. Then worldwide, there is another system that kicks in. And I know you're going to be so shocked and surprised when you hear about it. Now, this was not a human system. This was a system that was only accessible by the former owners of this planet. And the system was called X.
Oh, jeez. Of course it was.
Of course it was. Now, this is not something that our friendly X person, SpaceX, Disease X, other X, here an X, there an X, everywhere an XX, would have had access to. Although some of those systems were built upon a small section of the X platform, as permitted by the former owners of this planet a while back. Mm-hmm. So then, after the Doomsday system went down, then X disappeared.
Okay.
In short order. Boom, 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 one after the other this morning, till there's no more backup systems for planet Earth. And the only system for planet Earth that will remain by the time all is said and done is the Alpha Harmonic Genesis system. So hopefully, I've gotten all the operating systems that I needed to get. There's also financial security systems, military security systems, which are, security equals control. So this is a deep state operation that intertwines with all military worldwide, all intelligence worldwide, all internet worldwide, all financial systems worldwide, all media systems worldwide. So it's kind of like the security aspect, but you could also call it another layer of control aspect as far as global security is concerned. So I think so far everything seems to be going well. Now the effects of this. Mm-hmm. You have everybody running around trying to find anything to log into anywhere. They obviously knew already last night that they were under attack, but thought that they could get their vouchers to work and a backup system to kick in order to pay out. Well, that didn't work. And then they thought they could use the Doomsday system. That didn't work. Then they thought anybody that might have had a small amount of access to X, they thought that might work. So right now, as it stands as of the time of this broadcast, it looks like a full-on panic attack. Everybody's running for the hills, trying to find safe spots, that kind of thing. There's no way they're going to escape the Raymond Reddington crew for long.
So when we say they, mm-hmm. sometimes it's hard to know who they is. So we've got the Raymond Reddington crew. Who's they, the other side, that are running for the hills right now? You would have various members of military, various members of the intelligence community. You would have black nobility on that list, and their families are on that list. You would have global headquarters folks on that list. You'll have, Langley 5 is on that list. I know that. Most of the people that are running that show right now are on that list. There are some Treasury people, government people, political people worldwide. It's not necessarily here in the U.S. This is a worldwide operation that has been meticulously planned. You have some United Nations people on there. You have United Nations security on there on the list. You have some Order of the Dragon family people that are on the list. They all have continuously lied, and you've been hearing it firsthand. It gets boring, right? Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's boring, fairly boring. But we expect to see some serious results. Now, are they going to come back with masked men or women?
Maybe they'll try some. Maybe they'll try to delay announcing it in the media, like they have everybody else. That's possible. But chances are, if they're the ones that are trying to delay it for, say, a political agenda or an election agenda, with the promise of a huge position of power to each one of these individual operatives, you'll probably be gone too, because you've also been lying. Most of the SSP is on the list, remaining operatives that have been on the other side. Not the ones that necessarily have worked. You have some members of the SSP that are kind of retired, let's just say, that are not active, and they think the other people are nuts. So they're not participating in this. You have other members that are actively participating every single day in this agenda, constantly. Round and round and round they go on a hamster wheel. Well, everybody wants to get off. We've even heard of some complaints coming from the archivists. They're like, we're the only planet in the multiverse that's still dealing with this. They're frustrated. Some of our visitors are frustrated. Some people that are not even visiting, that are from other places, that are still getting the reverb from this planet, are frustrated. And I, for one, have been extremely frustrated. And not so much with the deep state. Yes, I'm tired of the lies as well. I'm tired of them lying to all of you. I'm tired of them poisoning everything under the sun. I'm tired of them, spraying chemtrails just as much as you are. No matter how many things you take out, I don't know. Where they get it from, I don't know. Like, they just keep going. Why? I have no idea, because they have no hope of getting off that hamster wheel ever, except for death.
Yeah.
It's a frustrating experience. As frustrated as I am, I can only imagine how frustrated you are. And as much as I feel for you, I just can't stress to you enough. There's one human over here with a few friends that are trying to make all of this happen. And unfortunately, it's not like there's a magic unicorn race that's going to come here and just wipe away, everything that's wrong with this planet in a day. I wish there was. And if there is, and those people, please give them a call and invite them on in. We'll have a barbecue. But, but there isn't. Even Source. It's a co-creative process. It was always a co-creative process. And there's, other than all of you focusing on the positive things that we want to see, the change we want to see in the world, and then acting on those changes to the best of your ability right now, there really isn't a whole lot we can do, or you can do, to change it. Mm-hmm. Protecting yourself, protecting your family, doing the best you can, making sure you always have a garden or food if it's possible, those types of things, or at least a farmer. Get to know a farmer in your area, so that if you do need something, there's a place for you to go. But I can't imagine this continuing too much longer. Some of the other systems might be interested in hearing about in the last few days would be, for example, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Mm-hmm. Now, systems that focused more on corporate controls were based upon, number one, skimming 10% off the top of everything. That number went up as it relates to the food industry based on the pharmaceutical deal mm-hmm. that was made a couple of years ago. But they skim off the top of every single one of their companies. If they received money from the World Bank, or they are part of the deep state large corporations, which most all are, the large ones, they were skimming off. So, there were companies like Bacardi and Busch Beer, Anheuser-Busch, all of those large names, Pabst, whatever it's called these days. I don't even know what kind of beer you can buy. But Most of those large companies all were connected to the same operating system. They could shut them down. They could shut down the manufacturing. They could put something in it from there using the operating system. So these are interesting developments. Same thing goes with firearms control, for us average everyday humans. And then, of course, we know the things that they put in tobacco, these days. So these are positive developments as far as the large corporations are concerned, because there is also a customs and tariff system and a World Trade Organization system, and all of their breaks and their discounts that they got were all listed in that system. Their cargo, there was shipping, it was all tied together, so they would know when deep state products were coming in and not to charge them customs. So, also the rules, the abilities to change the rules for customs and tariffs worldwide are now accessible. So as far as the custom fees you pay, like if you're importing a product, from say the US to the UK, you probably have to pay a fee when it arrives at your door. Or if you are a small business, and you're trying to ship your products worldwide, shipping can be really expensive. Not only that, you add customs fees on top of that, and it's very expensive for the small business owner. So we now have the ability to change that without going through 9,000 World Trade Organization forums.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. So there's positive things that are coming out of all of this stuff too. So we're not only taking down, we're also rebuilding on our side of it. As far as bank ownerships and alleged vouchers and committee of 300 things, fake money, numbers on screens, eventually all these things will revert to CARE, but they have misused when we put the funds on deposit in Iraq and in the U.S. They misused CARE, the name CARE, and claimed they all were CARE, remember? So we have to be very careful of when we decide we're going to launch that phase. Right now, they're just zeroed out and under our name. Okay. So we have all the holding companies now, which are positive developments for us.
Sure.
But the war is on fire today, and it's not going to end, if you're watching this from the deep state, for several days to come. We're pulling everything apart.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. There's your prefer not to say.
Well, yeah, it's good to know what's going on. Do you think any of this will come out in the media at all, or they're just going to keep a tight wraps on everything?
Well, we are going to see what transpires in a very short period of time as it relates to media. Now, you and I both know that most of that stuff is scripted, at least 24 to 48 hours ahead of time. So what you're hearing in the news was scripted 2 days ago. So within 48 hours, pretty much from now, we'll be able to get a general idea on how they're going to continue to mislead public opinion. Now, I hesitate on this aspect of it only from the standpoint of public panic. The normies, they get up in the morning and they watch Good Morning America. They watch the news, that kind of thing. They get the alerts on their phone from CNN and whoever they listen to. And it's become a part of their daily life and how they stay informed. They're listening to it on the drive to work or the drive home work on, satellite radio or Spotify or whatever, they're listening to on these days. Not many people listen to regular radio. It's usually satellite radio these days in the car. But there's, what if all that went away? How do we stop the lies? What do you think? I mean, you're a journalist, Sunny, you went to school there. I mean, we've got to think about public reaction and what people are going to do. We don't want people to panic. So we do have the broadcasting system, operating system, FCC, all of those we have had for several days now, which means we have the backbone for, every single network, starting from the top, Viacom, Ted Turner, all of them on down. So, what should we do at this point?
Yeah, it's tough because the white hats have been promoting this, whatever, their 10 days of darkness or whatever, and you don't want to feed into something that could help their narrative. That was the first thing I thought of. If you start taking stuff down, then on some level you're going to give them credit just because, and that still is a small group of the population that even knows what a white hat is, right?
Red and purple.
Yes.
Hats.
Yes, exactly. But, at some point, I would have thought by now that a lot of those, and we have been reporting on a lot of media outlets going under or combining, and doing stuff like that. But we're also seeing a lot of stuff now with government suppressing media. So obviously they feel like they don't have the upper hand in a lot of areas, especially in like war-torn areas and things like that. So we do see a shift, or what appears to be a shift, in people really wanting to report what's happening. So maybe some of that control structure, has been slipping away. Yeah.
Over the course of the last couple of years, we reported on a few things in our news. One of them being the floods in Australia. Remember that? We actually had footage of the alleged military over there. And I can pull these up again because I have them stored. We reported some footage where a person was recording with their phone all of the cameras and the military allegedly cleaning up after the floods and, putting stuff into a trailer to haul off and that kind of thing. But the point was they had an entire news crew there filming it.
Yeah.
And they weren't doing anything. It was just for show. It was, and they're having a hard time, especially since everybody has a cell phone now with, camera and video capabilities. They're having a hard time maintaining, their presence. Like, look how the Australian government is saving you from the flood. Then we had other incidents of video footage that was provided to us by Agent M from the Middle East, where they actually had camera crews setting up, and they were allegedly setting off missile strikes, which were there for camera purposes only, so that they could report it on the news.
I remember when you said that.
2 days later.
Yeah.
So we have that footage. We have footage. There's even plenty of footage on YouTube. People just don't look for it. There's plenty of people, Ukrainian citizens, that have gone to Kiev, at the height of the alleged attacks on Kiev, or Kyiv, however you want to say it. And you've got these barriers up. You know how, like, if you've ever been to an area of your country where they've been filming a movie, they kind of barricade off the whole area, and then they've got all these tents and things like that around as they're filming the movie. Well, that's what Kyiv looks like, or looked like at the alleged height of attacks when they were supposedly, according to the news, being bombed every single day. So,
yeah, there's just lies everywhere.
Yeah, it's just all a show anyway. And they're having a hard time keeping up with it.
Well, I was just thinking, it's hard to say what humanity is going to do. I don't know what humanity would do. But following along with what we have been promoting on UNN, with people telling their own stories of what is happening in their area, what if there was a way, I'm just kind of spitballing here, live on the news, let's just chat about this. If there was a way to limit or take down what we consider mainstream media, to take them down somehow so that they cannot broadcast, but still allow for user-generated content to get out there. Because then I'm just thinking, how do we get the truth out there? And people start reporting. It's exactly what we're telling people to do for field messengers. Show us what's actually happening. But people are lazy and, they'll just watch whatever's on, mainstream. I don't think the deep state has enough people to keep up the lies in alternative media to combat what the public would naturally do. That's just my thought.
Yeah, and that's the whole theory behind what we're doing here is,
I know.
You know, the more people get to see what's really happening in a specific area, the better it is for the world to understand that, a war is a movie. And I'm not saying that people don't die and that, our soldiers aren't killed, that type of thing. Of course they are. But, it's a lot of it is staged. Yeah. It's not as bad as they say, to create a political event. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying if you take away the people that have been doing the staging, are you going to get still, some people just want to be famous on social media. So you're going to get misinformation still. But I think the majority of people would try to, pitch in, be like, well, we don't have that anymore. So let's go out. We all have these little phones. Let's just go out and tell people what's going on. I don't know. It's just so many people seem to still be in, even people I talk to, like my parents, they claim they don't watch mainstream media, but when they come out here and visit, I see them watching mainstream media. I'm like, you say you don't, but I see. So Fox News is still mainstream media, guys.
Well, but see, it was branded in mainstream media that it's not mainstream.
I know.
News,
exactly.
A few years ago.
Right. But if you took down those places that we consider mainstream media, I don't know. I think that's an interesting proposition, honestly. Let people start to tell their own stories. Let all the Rumbles and the YouTubes and all of that, it would get to be, they can't censor everybody. They really can't. So, what would happen at that point? What would happen if, just leave social media alone, let people do their thing. It's all the user generated content and social media. Let people tell the story. See what happens. It would wake some people up for sure. Yeah.
And no more fact checking.
No more fact checking. Get rid of those darn fact checkers.
You did not eat salmon last night for dinner. I know you said you did, but you didn't.
Yeah, right.
Makes you wonder how they fact check that, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're always going to have people that will make up a story. There was a video circulating around about this World Economic Forum alleged speech, and this actor kind of got up and he started saying, you guys are all full of it, and, bleep, bleep, bleep. And it really looked like there was a speech at the World Economic Forum, where he was yelling at Klaus Schwab and all that, but it didn't happen. It was all just an act. Yeah. Done with green screen and, putting up the whatever behind him in a podium and that kind of thing. So, what is reliable? What is real? How do you get the real news out there without it being convoluted even by social media? Mm-hmm. Some people are more concerned with being popular than they are with putting out truthful information. Well, you've got one solution here because, see, people want to become an influencer, not so much because they personally need to feed their own ego. I mean, not all people, but a lot of times they do it because it's popular and they get X amount of views and then they get paid to promote products. Mm-hmm. Like some person said, I paid, $200 for a vacuum cleaner on Amazon, as an example. I went and made a TikTok video about the vacuum and how well it works and put a link to Amazon on there and made 4 times that much on my video because I reviewed the vacuum cleaner. Right. So it's become big business to promote products. And, matter of fact, like, even TikTok, what it was a year ago or 2 years ago, it's now a giant, I feel like you cannot get away from the feeling, this is my opinion, of watching the Generation Z version of the Home Shopping Network. Mm-hmm. Except I have average everyday people trying to sell me everything from a curling iron to you name it, like this kind of makeup and this kind of mascara and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, if you didn't have the mainstream outlets, if that kind of content would change, though, because, I don't think a lot of people feel like they can go toe to toe with what mainstream is talking about. So they talk about other things, products and whatever, but that becomes, not even secondary. That's way down on the list when suddenly, the main news is gone. I don't know. I think what we would see on user generated content feeds, I think that would change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and then if the algorithms aren't manipulated and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And they don't have as much time to prepare. Like those influencers, take time to prepare those pieces and stuff, right? So
sure.
Yeah, that takes time. So getting stuff out there quickly means you don't have as much time to, fudge it, make it, whatever. Like if you were trying to spread misinformation, disinformation. Well, you don't have a lot of time to do that. It takes 2 seconds for me to go out there with my camera and shoot what's happening on my street. If it takes a couple days for news to get out, then it's like, well, why didn't you report on this before? So I don't know.
Or you're second to the party. And maybe that's the key right there, Sunny. Maybe the key is to come up with a different type of incentivizing program to where, the first one with the breaking news story wins, or something like that, the highest payment for something, or, I don't know, maybe we can develop some kind of strategy around that. But one thing is for sure is that the way that we receive information has to change.
Sure.
And, the more we get into the base platforms and how they work, the greater likelihood of not creating a singular pinch point, that can be assaulted or attacked by some third-party entity. Yeah. Creating proper algorithms, that kind of thing. So everybody's heard, mm-hmm. Of course, something is popular if it pops up in everybody's feed, even if you only watch it for a second, that means it's 1 second of 4 million people because the algorithm puts it there.
Yep.
I mean, the Chinese government, the algorithm.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not natural.
So maybe that just needs to change and needs to be more fair and equitable. And then, of course, they try to say that like search engine optimization is so confusing. Mm-hmm. It's not that confusing. It needs to be more user friendly for the average everyday person that wants to get information out there. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. So they can get their voice heard. So, these are all things that we can work on. Maybe it automatically takes keywords instead of using keywords to shadow ban people and to censor people. Maybe we can use those keywords as an optimization tool that it pulls from the video that will automatically go into the SEO or search engine optimization, which will then get your video to the top when somebody's searching hurricane in Miami or wherever you are.
That's how most people think it works. Mm-hmm. That's what we're told is actually happening, but that's not.
Oh yeah, that's not happening.
No, I know.
No, that's not happening unless it's something they want out. Mm-hmm. If you are on YouTube as an example, and you are having a conversation about, Trump as an example, and you are talking positively about this person, right now during election time, that video is going to come up first. Yeah. Everything, all those videos, all those Patriot people. And they know it too, because they're flooding, like I said, that whole campaign was designed by Jared Kushner, and it was the most successful social media campaign ever since the advent of social media.
Which campaign are you talking about? An election campaign?
No, just the branding through social media of Trump.
Of Trump. Oh, in general. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jared Kushner put it together. He had hundreds of thousands of people, and then eventually the word on the street is 100 million people worldwide all doing the same thing on various social media platforms. And then the bots. Oh, Lord, the bots. I have promoted, everything, with my name on it. It's not me personally, reaching out to members here, reaching out to people on social media, hi, would you like to join the QFS and buy Trump bucks?
Yeah.
Here's the next thing is, I've got 9,000 ads for MAGA hats lately. They just keep coming up in your social media feed. Not a chance in this lifetime would I purchase a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
But I don't even talk about MAGA hats, and they just keep coming up. Mm-hmm. So it's all about they have access to DARPA, 100% certain DARPA. So that means they then had access, when they actually had them, to all the back ends of all the social media platforms. Mm-hmm. They can then program that in as an algorithm to come up first in everybody's feed list.
Wow.
Yep. Now, if you have a TikTok account, you can actually look up when you're posting a video, what is the trending hashtags, as an example. You can do the same thing in Twitter, Instagram, and you could put a hashtag Trump 2024, on your video about making pancakes. It doesn't matter. Then your video for making pancakes will come up.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. But as far as them, they put that tag on everything.
Right.
It's crazy. How it works. It's just the algorithms behind it that need to change in order to effectively say, this is news from my area. Or, if you want to do a dance, go do a dance. But, maybe we need to do something about that and kind of think about it a little bit more. And if any of you have any input on that, on how we could change it for the better, obvious ones, no fact checking, obvious things. There has to be some kind of something in place for, we don't want little kids and pornographic materials and doing things like that. We don't need any of that kind of stuff. So there has to be some kind of check and balance in place. But what do you recommend so that people can get real news, not just only through UNN, obviously the best news channel in the world, but, but what do you recommend going forward into the future? Because we're probably a couple of weeks away from actually making some serious changes using some of these base platforms. Right now, we're in the thick of things and in a war. But thoughts, opinions, put them in the comments underneath this video. We'll take a look and see what you have to say. If you have a whole plan written up, would love to take a look at it. But seriously, these are the changes that we are making in the world. We're going to do these changes. It's not if, it's not maybe, it's not well. If the deep state goes away, things need to change. And nobody wants to wait. Nobody on this planet, nobody in this country, nobody in that country, nobody in the world, nobody in the universe wants to wait for these dumb humans anymore. So we've all kind of come together, put together some plans. They're obviously going wonderfully today. Unless you're a deep state person, then you're having a bad day. But they're going very, very well. And they will continue to go well over the next few days because it's not going to stop. It's going to be a rapid fire succession of a tearing down of all things that don't work.
Yeah.
So
let's go. Let's do it.
I know. We're going. I've been going.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. I did it all night last night. I did it all night more this morning.
I think we just want to see it out there. Do you know what I'm saying? We know it's happening, but it's we just want to see it, see something happen, not just here on UNN and talk about it.
You're seeing changes. if you really look, and as we find those changes in the media, we will bring them to you, like the changes in creation, the floods in the Middle East, more floods in Iraq are happening. There are other areas that are also flooding. The deserts will eventually turn green, just like we said they were going to. There's going to be more to the story coming out. And if we find something that confirms stuff that we say, we'll point it out to you. But again, the mainstream media platform is the only thing I'm kind of teetering on, because if we do, we could be damned if we do and damned if we don't. Are they going to continuously lie to people? What do we do? How do we fix it?
Well, I was just going to say, Kim, the other thing is to somehow, go to whoever, go to these media companies and say, would you like to work on this with us? Or do you not want to exist? Do you not want to have your media license or whatever it is, your ability to broadcast? Because those are your options. So you can work with us or you can go away.
We do have the broadcasting system and the broadcast licensing system and the broadcast management system.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's about free will and choice. So, if something was being held over their head before, or some group or whatever, okay, well, now we're talking directly to you. Would you like to
there
assist?
There might be an option to maybe start with one, and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's a good possibility. Will the rest of them fall in line? I don't know. I mean, my goal was with, as far as broadcasting concerned, was to go, sometimes you go from the inside out and the outside in, and that's a Sun Tzu technique. So when you want to get at your enemy, you've got the main broadcasting companies in the middle, and then everybody kind of is layer by layer, goes out to your local media and your local cities and that kind of thing. And it's not just news media, it's all broadcasting channels. So, the further away you get from the center, the more you're looking at the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. So from a funding standpoint, we know there's not a lot of funding going down the pipeline from, say, ABC or NBC down to your local news station, ABC News, in small town America or small town wherever. So maybe we devise something, and I'm kind of giving you a little bit of let's just say a thought, that's come into our mind as far as possible strategies of hitting on the inside. Like you said, take a big one and then start with the outer rim and start having conversations with these people. Because if we're going from the inside out and the outside in, eventually we could have a hope of having some real progress in the world. That's the hope, but of course, in all these cases too, with these people, it's money talks and that's what we need to do. So, they're looking for funding. They're looking for sponsors. They're looking for, information right now, desperately. We would have to build up quite a bit to be able to have a 24/7 news channel. We would need a lot more staff and a lot more Sunnies.
Right.
We're not into cloning, so don't worry, Sunny. It's okay. But we would need a lot more, and prep time too. It would take several months to pull that together.
Sure.
So, it's something we can do. It's not an impossibility. It's just a reality that, planning, time, equipment, moving people around, getting studios set up, getting, people in different time zones set up. Maybe that's some of our field messengers. Maybe it's Kaylin from Australia. You don't know. It could be, it just depends on what happens. But we do have a strategy laid out. That's part of the reason why we visited the NAB and that kind of thing. And we talk to other broadcasters, see what everybody else is doing out there too. And we were a totally foreign concept to most of those people, from what I heard from you and Mike. They were like, wow, we never thought of that. So It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's probably going to take a few days. This is not like, this is not fast. This is a war. This is a real war.
A real war, yeah.
We expect backlash. We expect, certain things, but you try to account for everything. It doesn't mean you see everything, but we're going in rapid succession now because nobody wants to, I just can't even have another conversation about dead people walking around in a mask trying to run a country. I just don't want to hear it anymore.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Shutdowns are unavoidable. So
okay.
That's pretty much where we're at for Wednesday. I mean, it's good news all around. I mean, big progress on our side of it. Yeah. Us being able to manipulate institutions and whatnot after the disappearance of all of their stuff and take over some of it for ourselves has increased dramatically. Some of the things I just had to wait. There's an advantage to me waiting until this morning, and last night. There's an advantage to that. You can kind of see why. So even though we pulled the platforms, they didn't recognize the fact that that we could do that fast and change things. So
now they know.
Yeah.
Now they know.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I said now they know.
Now they know.
How fast you can move.
The more
and how quickly you can do
commercial?
stuff. Yeah.
But lots of progress being made. We look forward to your feedback on social media and how to make it better. Leave out the part about fact checking. That's an obvious, but if you do have any suggestions on how to make it better and easier for people to use, where content is, being watched and read on merit because people are looking for that information rather than, maybe the latest curling iron or whatever. I guess that's important too, but not because you're an influencer and not because, that kind of thing. It just needs to change a little bit. Yeah. All right. Well, that is the news for, what are we? May 8th. There we go.
May 8th. All right.
Wednesday.
I'll see you back here Friday.
I took your line.
Yes, you did. That's okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, you can go repeat it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Want to